The Red Cross nationally was chartered in the early years of the 20th century, and Hawaii as a territory was intrigued with the possibility of contributing to this national effort while ensuring that a lot of their services were relevant and pertinent to the needs of the territory. So just at the entrance of the United States into World War I in 1917, my grandfather, Alfred Laurie Castle, was the chief founder of the Hawaii Territorial Chapter, then today the Hawaii State Chapter of the American Red Cross. My grandfather looked at what was a way to involve the entire community in positive solutions to a national emergency. And he saw the Red Cross and Red Cross volunteerism as a place, a safe place where all social classes could come together for the purposes of serving a public good. And he saw that as being the role of the nonprofit sector really in general, whether it be the blood bank, whether it be Palama Settlement, whether it be Queens Hospital, that these were places where people could come together in a safe place because there was a transcendent good.
In World War I, there were rolling bandages in the throne room. And so that tradition kept on going in World War II, where they did the same things. They're rolling bandages and preparing things. Some of the volunteer groups of the Red Cross during the war included the Motor Corps, and they evacuated people from Pearl Harbor and transported medical supplies and wounded to the hospitals. There were volunteer nurse aides and nurses who cared for the wounded. And there were Gray Ladies. These were Red Cross volunteers who provided friendly, personal service to the sick, injured, and disabled patients in American hospitals. But it's the spirit of humanitarianism and volunteerism and compassion that's the essence of the Red Cross. And I think what the war did was it ignited that spirit in everyone. It was the young and the old, the rich and the poor, and that's what the Red Cross is all about.
They did all of the usual things that you would expect. They built up the medical supplies, the bandages, the medicine, all of the things, the tools to save lives. They also worked in concert with the Hawaii Blood Bank, which was created just before World War II and of course still exists today as a very important lifeline for Hawaii's community.
The Blood Bank of Hawaii opened as an idea from the community, and it was presented to the Chamber of Commerce of Honolulu at the time, and this is in 1941, in February.
The blood bank was a lifeline in World War II, and some of the same people, frankly, who were volunteers for the American Red Cross were also volunteering and working closely with the medical establishment here.
It became an agency of the war, and it was actually taken over by the Office of Civil Defense during the war. And then it wasn't until 1943 that it was returned to a nonprofit status for the civilian community. But it served as a critical aid or agency throughout the war.
I think what's interesting is if you look back at the World War II records, the degree of coordination between civilian medical personnel on the ground, many of the doctors at Queens and Straub, really wonderful people were quietly working with the Red Cross to prepare for a national emergency. World War II saw unprecedented rates of private sector volunteerism, and I think because of the threat to Hawaii's security and well-being, I think what you have in 1941, because of Pearl Harbor, is you have a threat that everyone feels equally. And with that, you begin to see cross-racial, cross-ethnic volunteering. Now it became the Red Cross for all people. When I look at that, it always brings a tear to the eye because it's Hawaii at its best. And nonprofits have put us in our best light, given us that space, that opportunity, that public space to be our best. God knows we still have our challenges, but I do feel that the nonprofit's ability to speak to sort of community good as a whole is still one of the healing factors that we have.
It's the best in aloha spirit where people are giving of themselves to help others in need. The one thing about the human spirit is that when there's a need, people will come. And so that's the legacy that we're hoping to continue, which is helping others help other people.
The bottom line is that we are all human. It's neighbor helping neighbor across the street, across the nation, and around the world.